You're listening to the Play Therapy Parenting Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brenna Hicks, the Kid Counselor. This is the Play Therapy Parenting Podcast, where I give you insight, awareness, and enlightenment about your parenting and your relationship with your kids. In today's episode, we are talking about the importance of sleep for our kids and ways that you can ensure that your children are sleeping well. It's actually based on a personal story. I just kind of became aware of this as a result of my week, so I will share that with you. But I want to make it really clear that we as a culture have moved away from outdoor activity, not only for our kids, but even as adults. We are no longer outside doing labor. We're not outside in the sun. We're not outside doing physical activity nearly as much as we were in previous generations. So I want to talk through that. Secondly, we really have lost the perspective of how important consistent physical activity is for our kids, for all of us, obviously, but especially for our children. They need consistency in their physical activity. So we'll unpack that together. And then finally, the importance of deep and restorative sleep. We really do not, I don't think we focus enough on how important enough sleep is, but it's also the quality of sleep that matters. The deep restorative sleep is so important for our kids. So I want to look at those three things together and obviously tell you my story of how I came to think about this in the first place. So we'll get there. The path to calm, confident, and in control parenting starts now. Alrighty, so here's my story. We have decided to re-landscape a lot of our front garden area. And we had my mom and dad come over yesterday, and we were yanking out a whole bunch of shrubs and bushes and things like that. And it was from 10 a.m. till about 5 p.m. We took a break only to come in and eat lunch. But otherwise, it was 7 hours of nonstop outside in the sun, shoveling, digging, yanking, dragging, throwing onto the trailer. I mean, it was a very day filled with physical exertion, let's put it that way. And we came in, we were just totally wiped. We ate dinner. We went to bed early. And I woke up this morning and it hit me, oh my gosh, I slept like a rock last night. I don't remember even turning over. I just was out. I was so deeply asleep. And I'm a good sleeper. I fall asleep quickly. I consistently sleep very well. So it's not that I really struggle to sleep, but that was a night that was a marked difference in I just felt like I was so deeply asleep, I wasn't aware of anything the whole night. And you can research this for your own. You don't have to take my word for it. But when you labor physically, so if you are outside, first of all, the sun it's great for you. Vitamin D is crucial. They've done study after study about how so many Americans, especially, I guess probably all around the world too, but Americans especially are so vitamin D deficient. So if you are not in the sun at least 30 minutes without sunscreen every day, you are probably deficient in vitamin D. You need to supplement, but the moral of the story is that's for another podcast episode. The moral of the story is when you are outside in the sun, it wipes you out. When you're outside physically exerting yourself, it wipes you out. So to be outside yesterday, 7 hours, we really have moved away from that kind of lifestyle. We are not working on farms. We're not working outdoors. We're not working with our hands. Many of us, most of us, sit inside. We work indoors. A lot of us work from home. We are in air-conditioned buildings. We walk from the car to the building, from the building to the car, from the car to the house. We're not outside. We're not doing physical activity. And this is even more true for our kids. Kids are used to, for the entirety of our history, kids are used to being outside and playing every moment that they can be outside and play. And now our schools are overloading homework. They're bombarding with schoolwork. It's tests and quizzes and homework and assignments. And kids spend all day inside at school, and then they spend all night inside doing work. And we have completely lost the outdoor physical activity cultural norm that we've had for years. And I mean, I could go on about all of the ramifications of that. There's diabetes, there's back issues, there's obesity, there's disease. I mean, gosh, I could go on. But for our kids, we have schools that are taking away PE. We have schools that are taking away opportunities for our kids to go outside and play. And then they spend all day inside, and then they come home and spend all night inside. They have to be able to expend energy. They have to be able to be outside and be in the sun and make themselves physically tired. Kids have endless energy, and if they don't have a way to channel that and to have an outlet for it, it is harmful. So we absolutely have to get back to a place where we are making time for physical activity outside. Kicking a soccer ball, shooting a basketball, throwing a baseball, throwing a football. It doesn't matter what it is, swimming, running, chasing the dog, riding bikes. It can be anything, but our kids have to be outside and they have to be able to get themselves physically tired from expending energy. So that's number one. Number two, kids need consistency in their activity. What I mean by that, it's always a good place to start small, right? So if you happen to be a family that says, gosh, you know what? My kids aren't outside enough. They do need to be outside more. They're not in the sun. They're not doing anything physical. I want to make sure that I make this part of our lives. We're going to plan 30 minutes once a week to go outside. Yes, start small, make it happen, incremental changes. I'm 100% supportive of that. However, kids need consistent physical activity. So once a week is a great place to start, but it's not enough. They need daily, consistent activity. And one way that we as a family have decided to manage that is we, since Cain was young, have told him that every season, so sports-wise, there's a spring season, a summer season, and a fall season. So typically 3 seasons for athletics. We have told him since very young, we don't care what you do, but you will be involved in some kind of physical activity. Doesn't matter to us what it is. You can play lacrosse, you can be on the swim team, you can play tennis, you can play baseball, you can do ice hockey. It doesn't matter what it is, but doing nothing is not an option. So you tell us whatever you think you'd like to be a part of, we will sign you up and get you involved. And that has worked extremely well. It provides consistency. It provides, school sports and extracurricular sports are so good for kids in so many ways. They learn sportsmanship. They learn what it means to be a team member. They learn willpower. I could go on. But we have never required a specific activity, but we've always required activity as a whole. And that is one way to consistently ensure that your kids are going to have that a regular routine part of their week. So, if, for example, baseball, we have games twice a week and usually practice once or twice a week. So that's 4 days a week that we know our son is going to be actively outside playing sports. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a community or a league or an organization kind of thing. It can be street hockey with the kids in the neighborhood. It doesn't have to be an organized activity. It can just be most days of the week, they're outside doing something. So that's the way we handled it. I just wanted to share that because we've had a lot of parents tell us that they think that's a great idea and they want to implement that too. So I'm all about sharing the wealth of knowledge with things that work. And then finally, let's talk a little bit about the importance of deep restorative sleep. When we sleep deeply, and I don't want to get into the really deep trenches of the sleep cycle and all of that, but there are phases of sleep, And we constantly cycle through those phases as we sleep. And there's light sleep and deep sleep and REM sleep and all of that. So if you're curious and interested, there's all kinds of information about that. You can look it up. But we are only in deep sleep for portions of each cycle. And the deep sleep is when the most healing takes place, when the most growth takes place. We have to think about our children are still growing, and their bodies need sleep to help them to heal and to grow. The nervous system resets when you are asleep. So when our children are in deep, restorative, restful sleep, their nervous system kind of recalibrates, resets, and is refreshed for another day. Our cognitive capacity increases after we've been in deep sleep. Our brain function increases after we've been in deep sleep. Study after study after study reveals that there are so many positive benefits to deep sleep. And here's why I think this is important. The more kids are on screens, the less deep sleep they get. And if you have no idea the correlation there, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, check out my book, Device Detox. It's on Amazon. Go check out other books about the danger of kids and screens. There's lots of them out there. But here's what is really the premise of why I'm bringing this up. When kids' nervous systems get wired for sounds, dings, spins, rewards, gems, coins, their nervous system is on overload all the time. And the blue light that our children's devices emit disrupts sleep. So when they're on screens late at night, when they're on their phone, when they're on a tablet, when they're playing video games right before they go to bed, their body and their brain can't shut down to fall asleep. Then when they finally do fall asleep, it's fitful, unrestful sleep, because every little sound, every little thing alerts their brain and it wakes them up, because they've conditioned their nervous system that they have to be so attuned to everything. So the moral of the story is, the antidote to that, the way to combat that, is to get your kids off of screens and get them outside. Because when they are outside, when they physically exert themselves, when they're in the sun, when they're exerting energy, when they're expending all that pent-up stuff, that is healing in and of itself. But then it also makes them tired so that their body can rest. And screens are actually the opposite. They make them wired and unable to rest. So this is kind of a twofer. You're getting the importance of sleep and being outside, but you're also getting the dangers of screens. I have lots of earlier episodes on that. So if you want to become more knowledgeable about that, please check those out. Playtherapyparenting.com is where you'll find all the episodes. But the moral of the story is, I'm very clearly anti-screens and anti-devices. If you've been with me, you know that about me. There's no shock there. But kids need to be outside. And if they're on a screen, they're going to be inside. So this is kind of a double whammy here. If they're inside, they're obviously not outside playing, but if they're inside, they're often on video games. So let's make a commitment. Let's start a movement. Let's have this wave of this generation of kids that learns how to play again, learns how to go outside again, learns how to go out in nature and see the wonders of the world, find bugs and make ant colonies. And, there's so many things to be found in nature, pine cone hunt, nature scavenger hunt, whatever. But the moral of the story is, kids have to be outside and they have to be getting physical activity. It is the best case scenario for their growth, for their healing, for their nervous system, for their brains, for their sleep, for everything. So it's really important that we talk about these things. They're not always fun and they're not always glamorous, but my job and my goal is to help you to be equipped and enlightened and educated and have insight about what is best for your kids. And I am living proof. I worked outside all day and I slept like a rock. And that is always true. When kids have gone to the beach, when kids have been at an amusement park, they zonk out and they're out, because the sun and the energy and the exertion, it's tiring. And it's so good for them to have that on a consistent basis. So I hope that encourages you. Challenge yourself to make being outside and playing a priority this week. it will make a huge difference for your kids. Thank you, as always, for being a part of the Play Therapy Parenting family. I will look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Play Therapy Parenting Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks. For more episodes and to subscribe to our newsletter, please go to www.playtherapyparenting.com.